Hey guys, it's Jason here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. We are now on episode 2 of the Ryft monster build, rebuild, however you want to put it. Now, if you haven't watched the first video and you want to know what's going on, I will leave a link in the description, plus there'll be a link at the end of this video to go check it out. But in that video, I mentioned that I wanted to start with the rear diff housing because I'm switching over to 4-wheel steering. And I just wanted to kind of work on that first to make sure that I had all the parts so that if there was parts I needed, I could order them, then maybe move on to something else when the parts come in, get back to that rear housing. So that's what I'm doing today. So far, everything has been going well. I've got the SSD locker in. I've obviously got, guys, the axle out. I've got everything I've kind of placed everything sort of together. And so far, guys, everything seems to be working really, really well. I'm not missing anything. I'm about to, guys, I don't know if anybody does this. I do it all the time. This is the Cow RC Udder Butter. It's a very, well, sorry, they refer to it as super waterproof grease. I use a lot of greases. This is just one that one time I don't even know how I got my first bottle of it. And I really, really like using it, especially for what I'm about to do here. So I'm just going to bring you guys in closer so you can see what's going on. Now, at this point, guys, like I said, I've kind of placed everything in. Nothing's obviously screwed down or anything like that. But I placed everything in and everything seems really, really good. So what I'm going to do is I put my bearings on first, and then I'm going to line all my shafts with a ton of grease. I packed the crap out of my disc with grease. I'll have some in here. And the reason I do that is water's going to get in here at some point. I'll be running this thing, guys, on trails, hitting streams, creeks, whatever. So what I've always done is I just like to pack this thing up with as much grease as I can get. And if water happens to even penetrate anywhere, there's so much grease surrounding all the metal that hopefully it does a really good job of preventing rust and all that kind of fun stuff. Once that's done, I'm going to screw everything in and see where we're at. So far, from everything, guys, that I've seen, Treal provides a lot of hardware for everything. So again, guys, all I'm going to do is just line these bad boys up. And like I said, I use a generous amount. Probably try to keep it off your bearings if you can, but just coat it up. You got to remember, guys, when this goes into the housing, it obviously, guys, it's big enough for the bearing. So the hole itself is quite a bit bigger than the actual axle itself. So again, some people might tell you different. This is what I do. And again, I'm only saying this, guys, because I know everybody has their ways of doing things, so some people may disagree with me on this. This is what has just worked for me. And I know I've got friends that will do a lot more than this. They super pack them. You just want to make sure that you got your bearing on first. You don't want to set the bearing in first, because if you've got the bearing in, when you go to slide in, I don't even know if you guys saw what I just did there. When you slide, if you don't put your bearing in first, when you slide this in, the bearing is going to basically grab all your grease and just kind of shove it back out. So just make sure you get your bearing on first. There we go. Now, guys, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of pack this all around, get quite a bit in here, and then I will get the cover back on. All right, guys, in typical fashion, I went ahead and I got everything together. It just was going together so nice. I was kind of excited to see it all going in, seeing how everything was going to look. That, yeah, I just went ahead, got everything finished. And what I want to do first is, if you're doing one of these conversions, so if you're adding the rear steering, 4-wheel steering, however you want to put it, and you're on Treal's website and you order the housing, you order the steering knuckles, the steering links, the servo horn, you get yourself a locker. Even if you don't, you can still put a diff in. You order your hexes, like the calipers and all that stuff, the brakes. You'll also probably think to yourself, hey, I need the axles. So you order the axles as well. There's just one part that I didn't know I needed, and I'm going to show it to you guys right now. So over here, it's this bearing. It's a 10 by 15 by 4 millimeter bearing. Now, it's pretty easy to get, guys. They've got them on Amazon. They're not like it's expensive or anything like that. But for me, luckily enough, guys, I kind of posted it on my local Facebook group and someone had one, so I was good to go. But it sits right in here, so on the inside of the steering knuckle. So the steering knuckles come with the bearings you need on the outside, but you need this inside one. Now, if you were, let's say, doing a front axle and you were changing it from, let's say, plastic to an aluminum one, you'll have the bearings because they'll be in there right now. But if you're adding the four-wheel steering, you just need to know that after you get all your parts, you still need to get this bearing. So if you don't have it, when you order, let's say, something like your Axial axles, you can get this bearing as well. So again, guys, just bringing you guys in close, 10 by 15 by 4 millimeter, that's the bearing you need. And again, I had one, it must have came out of the rear axle somewhere, because I did have one sitting on here, but that was it. All the other bearings that I had were these ones here, and these are not the ones that you need. So either way, guys, I'm gonna get the cover on now, and then we're gonna get this whole assembly put back in the Ryft. I don't know, I found myself a small extension. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to reach the receiver box. Hopefully I don't need to buy another extension or anything. I've got a little one, but hopefully, guys, this will work. And then I will get it installed, and we can actually just start seeing how the rear steering is. So I got the rear housing bolted up. It's all good to go. I also, guys, installed the Treal steel rear drive shaft. So I've got the slider in there. I still need to do the front one, but I'll worry about that when I do the whole front end. But guys, yeah, that is pretty awesome. I've been kind of lugging this thing around now, just checking it out, because I'm very, guys, impressed with how this looks. What I'm going to do now, though, guys, is I'm going to fire up my Rugged, and I'm going to show you guys how I've got all this programmed. So the first time I fired this up, I thought it was pretty cool. I think I had the buggy turned over, so my steering was a little bit wonky. But I went in, turned it on, everything centers, you're good to go. Now, the way I've got this configured is right when I first fire up the truck, you have front steering. Good to go, all set up, all is running. Now, my D switch right here, if I tap that down once, there we go. Now I have four-wheel steering, all's good to go. But tap it again. We got crab walk, tap it one more time, rear steering only. Now, I'm going to show you guys in the menu what I've done. So you got to go down. I don't think you guys will be able to see that because of the glare, but you go down into mixing, and you can see right now we've got steering active. Now, the weird thing is when you click on this, you'll have, I'd have to go back and oh no, maybe I can do it from here. No, I'd have to go back, guys, and reset everything, but it's kind of weird. When you first go in, it gives you an option for your four-wheel steering, and it's basically, or for your steering, sorry, is basically four-wheel steering or two servos. Now, I chose two servos first because I was thinking, okay, maybe four-wheel steering is for like a Y adapter or something like that. But you've got to set it to four-wheel steering. The next thing is you assign it your auxiliary channel. So whatever channel you've got it plugged into your radio, into your receiver. So I have an SR15 in there right now, or 515. My auxiliary one is for my drag brake. That's set up on my G switch right here. And then auxiliary 2 is for the rear steering. And you can see in this menu, you've got position with the little dash, so that's kind of like default startup position, front steering, then position 1, which is basically hitting your switch one more time. I can actually show you guys, hopefully it'll stay, the glare won't bother you guys too much. But you can see how it kind of bumps over the boxes. So you can see right now position 1 has the box around it, bump it over to position 2, bump it over to position 3. So again, when I'm sitting in position with the little dash, we have just front steering. Tap it again, it moves up into position 1. That's where you got your four-wheel steering. Notch it over to position 2. That's where you got your crab walk. And then when you hit position 3 is just rear wheel steering. Now, like you guys saw in the beginning, you don't need to be on this menu to access the four-wheel steering feature. So it's now assigned to my D channel, or my D switch, sorry. So again, you fire up the truck. You got your normal front steering, tap it once, you'll go into full four-wheel steering. I'm kind of excited, guys, to see how this is going to run with now having also the locked front. Well, right now it's locked in the rear, but it will have a locked front differential too. I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to be, because definitely the steering should help that. And I mean, this is going to be purely off-road, guys, dirt, rocks, crawling, and all that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it's going to definitely add to the steering, especially now that we have the locked up differentials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of, guys, kind of fast forward and just get this front diff done. I really want to get it in.
I know for some of you, if you're thinking about doing some conversions, you're thinking about getting some Treal diffs, that's the part you want to see. You want to see how they look in the truck. You want to see the orange with the cage and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm going to do that right now. The only other thing, guys, I was going to mention, if you're wondering why I've got the zip ties in here, is because I've still got work to do. Again, I think I may have already mentioned, I'm going to run the truck or the buggy once I get the front diff in, get the Treal housing in, all the goody parts, the locker as well. I am going to run it with that 2400 kV, the 4-wheel steering, and the diff lockers just to see how it is before I move on to that 1800 kV motor, the dual stage foams, and the new shocks that I have coming. Because I'm kind of excited to run the truck too. Excited to see the 4-wheel steering and see how it goes. So either way, for me, it's going to be probably, I don't know, a good 45 minutes to an hour. For you, it's right now.
All right, guys, so after a little bit of work, we got the front housing in. Everything is good to go. I did install the steel Treal drive shaft as well. Bring that around. My first thought, after I've gotten all this guys installed, I did have the tires on it. I had it on the floor. I had quite a bit of like trim and setup to do, trying to free up the axles just a little bit. I did notice that the servo savers themselves, especially when I've got the tires on and I'm on the floor, I did notice where the servo savers like were engaging, and it kind of made for a few issues, because when you go to recenter, you're recentering at different times. You're also, when you're just turning, you're turning sort of at different times, like between your front and your rear axles. And I didn't like that. So I did put in the heavy duty spring. The silver springs that comes with the Treal kits are stronger, and they're noticeably stiffer, guys. Like if you take them out of the package and you kind of, you know, do that, you can really feel that the silver spring is a lot stiffer. It helped. It did help, not enough. So what I've done, I did order 2 matching servo horns. I have a whole bunch of servo horns here. They were different sizes, different this. I did find 2 red ones that were the same, but the red, I mean, it's fine here on the brakes, but I didn't want it front and center. So I did order 2 black ones just to try. I would like to keep a servo saver. They are helpful, and especially if I get to the point where maybe I'm kind of bashing this thing a little bit faster, a little bit harder, it would be nice to have some protection there. But at the same time, I don't want it to impact my steering. So I'm gonna mess with that a little bit. I'll follow that up in another video, but overall, guys, super pumped with how it is. You know, I've always liked 4-wheel steering. I've also liked having the dig feature. I do find when you can lock that rear end and you're turning, it does help a lot. But for this truck, or buggy, however you want to put it, I don't know. I wanted the 4-wheel steering. I wanted something a little bit more gimmicky. You know, when I'm out and I'm whether I'm in a trail, hitting the rocks, hitting something, you know, kind of complicated, I just wanted to make it even more fun. And by adding the 4-wheel steering, having, you know, this way, which I always consider is the correct way, or going into something like the crab walk, it'll just be fun. And that's what this buggy, guys, is. So don't for one second think that it's some hardcore competition vehicle. It's not. It's what I do on this channel. It's what I do, guys, in this hobby. And it's just about building fun, adventurous RCs. And sometimes they're over the top. Sometimes they might not make sense. Or sometimes they're like what you see here, where it's just awesome. Because I know we're not supposed to, you know, say things like, oh my God, my RC is so amazing. But I am pumped, guys, with how this thing is turning out. It just looks incredible. The colors look good. The Ryft itself, guys, just in a cage, I think looks amazing. I have always liked the look of a Ryft. I just like the way it sits. Excluding the fact that it does sit a little bit high. I've got new shocks coming for it. I'm going to spend some time with that, trying to get more, you know, kind of sitting there. I'd like it to be a little bit more, I don't know how far, guys, I'm going to go, but I know I want to lower it a little bit. When I had my Ryft, or not my Ryft, my Wraith, I can't remember the company now, but they used to make a kit that it was a lowering kit, and what it did was it kind of added a piece here so that your shock, now obviously you'd have to do a lot of trimming and it'd be a completely different kind of mount, but it would bring your shock up. So you still got a lot of travel, but your shocks went up so that it did lower the buggy. Now, it'd be kind of hard on the Ryft with the battery being right here, because you can only go so far before this just kind of starts slamming in. But for what I'm going to be doing it for, you know, if it's properly set up, you only need so much travel. So we'll see, guys. But either way, there it is for now. Again, we can go into just rear steering or flip it back and just have front steering. This is kind of the way, you know, when we think of four-wheel steering, obviously these tires turn this way, these are turning this way, so that you get your maximum kind of turning circle. You get your sharpest turning circle. This is how I'll probably run it a lot of the time. But either way, guys, that's it for this video. Rear wheel steering installed, diff housings installed, lockers are installed. Super pumped. Next will be, I'm not sure. I still have over right there, that's all the center stuff. So that's the full skid, and then the big center gear housing, motor mount, all that kind of stuff. And I do have, guys, if you have not watched the video already, this beast, the Rock 412 HD 1800 kV going in as well. And I think I started saying something about that when I first got to this part of the video. The 2400 kV is not what I want at all. It just has too much wheel spin, even with the 2S. So right now it's sitting with the 2S. I just found it's just way too fast. And it was kind of funny because I was kind of working in my basement and I had the lockers on and I was just climbing the couch and stuff like that. And it's just too much wheel spin. So part of me kind of just really wants to get that motor in and start trying it with that 1800 kV. But at the same time, if I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna do everything. So who knows what's gonna happen? Who knows what's gonna happen in the next video? But you know what, guys? That's it. I'm gonna get the tires on now. I'm gonna take it outside for a few pics. If you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. Please subscribe and have a great day.